Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting for Thursday, December 5th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a prayer.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for all that are gathered here this evening. I thank you for our community and those that are helping to support it. We thank you for the guidance and wisdom and faith that we have in this journey we call life. We thank you in all things. Amen.
There is no executive session held. This meeting is being recorded for rebroadcast purposes. At this time, we will invite anyone to come forward for a 5-minute per person limit on agenda items only. Please come forward, state your name for the meeting minutes. Good evening.
Good evening. Will on Forsyth. And my comment has to do, it's in reference to the meeting minutes from the last meeting. So it's in reference to a public comment that was made by a resident at the November 21st Board of Supervisors meeting. The resident commented on statements made by Supervisor Burton at the close of the Board of Supervisors meeting that was held on November 7th of this year. In my opinion, the word battle is instilled in many veterans' vocabulary during training and throughout their military career. Mr. Burton, as a Marine Corps veteran, undoubtedly had this word and many other military terms that were seared in his memory. These words and terms become part of the soldier's normal, everyday conversation. For the uninitiated, these words and terms may seem confrontational, but in people who served and have served, many continue to use these words and terms as part of their normal conversation. Regarding the phrase, and I quote from the November 7th meeting, Mr. Burton, I understood Mr. Burton to mean when he said, "We have our king," I understood Mr. Burton to mean our king was Jesus Christ. And since it's the holiday season, Jesus is also known as the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, and the Prince of Peace. And finally, recently, we all learned of the devastation to areas of North Carolina that continues to this day. I understand that Supervisor Burton answered the call to aid his fellow Americans by traveling to the devastated area of Asheville, North Carolina, to provide life-saving assistance to those that are in great need there. Mr. Burton, I applaud your military service to our nation and your services to your fellow countrymen and women in North Carolina during their great suffering and loss. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. There's no presentations tonight. Action items, we have the meeting minutes for November 21st. Any changes, gentlemen?
Nothing from me.
Good. I'll make a motion to approve the November 21st meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Motion carries. Treasurer's report.
Okay, we have a general fund bank account list of bills in the amount of $53,282.18 for the week of November 20th and $97,675.29 for the week of November 27th. Any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries.
We have a capital reserve fund list of bills in the amount of $12,080 for the week of November 20th and $4,000 for the week of November 27th. Any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries.
We have a developers fund list of bills in the amount of $4,180 for the week of November 20th and $5,193.49 for the week of November 27th. Any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries.
And we have an electronic payment list of bills for payroll for the period of November 17th of 2024 to November 30th of 2024 in the amount of $95,936.24. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries.
That's the treasurer's report tonight.
Thank you, sir. New business. Gentlemen, got anything?
Not now.
Got anything?
Nope.
Okay. Old business. Anything?
Everybody's looking at me.
I'll-
I might be old, but.
I'll-
Yeah, I'll bring it up real quick. The truck outside, can we move that over to Reamstown now that it's getting closer to the first of the... So they can maybe, oh, they're not gonna use it, but then you just start outfitting it. I don't know if that's something that they're interested in. No? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard from them yet, so
We don't have,
we'll wait till the next meeting. I'll ask Tommy to reach out to them for an update on what their plan is and go forward from that in the new year like we had originally said.
all right.
I know our police cruisers on municipal bid right now. There's like 6 more days left on that, so we'll be approving that bid at the next meeting. I think we have an old chainsaw on there too right now, Tommy had said, so.
My grandson went,
There you go.
he asked for a chainsaw for Christmas.
There you go. On municipal.
So is
He's
he
5 years
interested or are
old.
you interested?
Under old business, I'll bring up, I had a resident reach out to me last week. They were asking about the roundabout. They were asking about if we're even talking about it or discussing it or what's going on there at that intersection. Then they brought up Money Creek and 272. Then they brought up 897 and 272. So they brought up 3 intersections. So I said, we haven't spoke about it. The last we did, it was like, it had like a $2 million price tag on it. And the state 3, and the state was talking about us building the roundabout. And we just, I remember that town hall we had at Reamstown Fire Company, it was a filled room. We got a lot of pushback from people on the roundabout, and there was questions about turn lanes and, you know, extended turn lanes and right turn lanes and left turn lanes and straight arrows. And but I guess John Schick back then, our traffic engineer, was there and said that PennDOT wanted the roundabout, and that was about it. So that's where the ball dropped, that's where it stayed, and it hasn't been moving forward since. So I told them I'd bring it up for discussion to see if that's something we want to revisit come New Year and kind of see where we're at with it. Not just saying the roundabout, I'm just saying about the intersections in general. Possibly have our traffic engineer here and ask some questions and see if, you know, maybe there's grants out there or whatnot, because as you guys know, the traffic impact funds we have, back in the day, they can only be used in certain intersections of the township. So we don't have enough in there to be able to fund the whole intersection project,
Not even 10%.
not even 10%. So I promised them I'd bring it up at a meeting, just to open discussion and, get the dust off of it again, so possibly we can keep talking about it.
At the time, it was John Schick's comment, as well as the engineers that were designing the prototype shape, that we, if you go to the grant route, puts more federal restrictions on it, runs up the cost. That was the caution to the board at the time. You will get money towards the project, but the project price will escalate. So, I don't know what's changed since then. I think from a board perspective, our focus has been a little bit on this Hill Road relocation, and any funding that might have to go towards that from us. That's right near the top of our list, I would say.
I think, Matt, you feel comfortable saying that should probably happen next year? Maybe,
Maybe,
hopefully.
yeah.
When you talked about roundabouts, I wasn't sure whether you were referring to the one in Heatherwoods. I had a resident approach me, and they were wondering about, I guess it was stop signs at every intersection, and why weren't they to be yields? And I guess we're on the path to changing that.
Yep.
Right, those stop signs were temporary during the construction period, and we have an ordinance being advertised for the next meeting, probably, to replace those with yield signs.
That will make one resident happy for sure.
It's not like they stop.
You can't always count on making anybody happy.
It's painted yield on the ground, and it's got stop signs.
Stop signs, yeah.
If we're talking about intersections, I did talk to Tommy about this 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to bring it up, so thank you for bringing it up. Intersection of Hill Road, White Oak, and Town.
Yep.
I think we should consider, I know that's another PennDOT steps we have to go through to put stop signs on that road, but I think that should be considered as a four-way stop.
They're working on it already.
Okay, good.
With Zimmerman and Gebhardt, I think they're all involved right now trying to see with PennDOT studying the intersection as we speak.
Okay, roundabout is pre-me, and so I look at Church, I look at that intersection, those are all PennDOT roads. Why are we held to fixing PennDOT roads and intersections? Just curious.
Ask David Zimmerman that question.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know why we would have to foot the bill well, that $3 million was how many years ago? It was probably 4 or 5.
Well,
wasn't
it was 2.8 a few years ago, but with escalation, I'm sure it's 3.
And that's not counting acquiring property from the property owners on the corner.
Interesting. I don't know why we should ever have to pay for that one, but.
I can tell you one of my other municipalities, PennDOT is pursuing the roundabout project, including, because I specifically asked, including the acquisition of additional right-of-way. Nothing, they met with the township just to inform us. So that's something to pursue.
Good.
Any other old business?
Lorenzo, the fire company merger hit a big milestone since our last meeting. Do you want to bring that up? And I'm happy to explain what it means.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I forgot to write notes of that. I'll read the email as I received it. Thank you for that. All right. This email is dated November November 27th. The letter reads, should have brought my glasses. All right, dear Mr. Reed, this will acknowledge receipt of your notice from PA OC Rule 4.4A regarding the above captioned matter. I've reviewed the documentation and on behalf of the Office of Parents Patriot have concluded that we have no objection to the proposed merger in accordance with those documents. Please provide me with a copy of any orders or decreases that may be entered by return mail or email. Please be advised that the above review was conducted pursuant to the Patriot Rule of Charitable Trusts and Organization section and has no bearing on any tax, antitrust, consumer protection, or any other matter unrelated to the function.
So the board will remember, those folks who were here for the meeting or watched the meeting on YouTube, that there was a question about would anybody be looking into the finances of the merging companies. And we had responded earlier, Lorenzo responded again, that the Commonwealth Attorney General's Office, the Bureau of Charitable Trusts and Organizations, would be doing that. A charitable nonprofit in Pennsylvania owns its property and holds it in trust for the benefit of the people of the Commonwealth. So one of the regulatory agencies that overlooks charitable organizations like our fire companies is the Commonwealth Attorney General's Office. So in order for there to be a merger, the law refers to that as a fundamental change in the operation of those corporations. A really rigorous review of their finances is required by the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General has to issue what is called a no objection letter to the merger occurring, because the merger results in those charitable assets then pouring into the new organization that comes out of the merger. So it's, and again, I've been through it about a dozen times, it's a very vigorous review of the finances, and this no objection letter is an essential part of the next step of the process, where the Orphans Court Division of the Lancaster County Courts has to approve the merger. And the first question the judge always asks is there any objection by the Attorney General? So this is a big deal, and it's a major step. And what it means is that those two companies' finances pass the test, that there are no questions that are unanswered in those financial statements.
Thanks for the reminder. And according to Deputy Chief of the Reamstown, Mr. Gull, he said it is with the Lancaster, the Orphans.
The Orphans Court Division.
And they don't have a deadline on when they're going to get back to them. Unfortunately, it's probably stacked in the file.
Everybody has a deadline except the judge.
So, yep. So that is good news. Yep. Any other old business? Just a reminder, Friday the 13th is going to be the lunch-on at the Reamstown Fire Company. If anybody got an invite, if they had an RSVP, please RSVP back. That way we have a good head count of who's showing up. At this time, we'll offer a public comment for non-agenda items. Please come forward, 5-minute per person limit. Please state your name for the meeting minutes. Good evening.
Good evening. Nelson Milton. At the last meeting, you responded, Lorenzo, to somebody's question on the lawsuit between the tax collector and the supervisors. And being a resident of the township, we all received a letter from the tax collector, and there's been arrows flown both directions. and in front of Jill and everybody that's here, you kind of reviewed what the judge ordered. And I went online to the Promontory's office because you didn't say anything about the things that you were told to do. So I printed off a copy of the judge's decision or order, I guess, dated 19 November of this year, and it was filed in the Promontory's office on that date at 1:42 p.m. And kind of goes out and states that the judge ordered that all agreements in the parties shall constitute an order of the court as follows. Now, I'm not going to rephrase your comments about what Jill needs to do, because you did, I think, a pretty adequate job doing that, but there's a couple things that I'm seeing here that you folks need to do, and that was never mentioned last month, or last meeting. The Board of Supervisors and the Township Manager will not withhold any tax records from the tax collector, especially the new year duplicate and all corresponding files received from Lancaster County. Any and all tax records or files will be sent to the tax collector in a timely fashion. The Board of Supervisors and/or Township Manager will take no action with respect to the tax collector's bond without consulting the tax collector. Item 6, the Board of Supervisors and/or Township Manager will give forward any and all information needed to complete the bond application to the tax collector. Item 7 in this document, the tax collector may appoint a deputy tax collector, and the Board of Supervisors will not unreasonably withhold approval of such deputy collector, provided the appointment is submitted in proper form for consideration of approval by the board at a public meeting. The bonding company must approve and add the deputy to the bond before the deputy begins to serve. Item 10. The township will install a mail slot in the tax collector's office door. The township will place all mail delivered to the tax collector in this mail slot. Item 11, when the tax collector has offices during the scheduled evening in a discount period for the payment of taxes, the township will provide a staff member to keep the township building open. Tax collector must provide a minimum of 4 weeks' notice of the scheduled evening hours. Item 12, the township will provide the tax collector with a computer monitor. Item 14, the township will email the tax collector a final Excel file in proper format required for the printer and tax software vendor at least 2 weeks prior to March 1. Item 18 in this document. The tax collector, the deputy, and the township shall conduct all communications in a professional, business-like fashion. Item 19, the township manager will serve as point of contact between the Board of Supervisors and the tax collector, and any email communications between the township and the tax collector shall copy all 3 supervisors and the township manager. So, public document. Anybody that wants to go on the Promontory's site can find any of the things that have been related to the lawsuit, I guess, from the very beginning. Thank you.
So I will answer, if you don't mind.
It doesn't require an answer, all I'm reading is the facts,
Exactly.
okay?
Those, I think 19 of those 20 points, correct? 19 of those 20 points, we had agreed upon in this very room, myself, the township manager, our solicitor, Jill, and her solicitor, right here, right in this very room, when we first met over a year and a half ago.
In February.
19 of those facts. The only thing that got added was the deputy tax collector.
And I sat in 2 meetings where she tried to present a deputy, and you guys sat there and made no comment, so
Of course, but the facts are the facts. We had to get what I call a Bill of Rights for the residents of the township because they backed out of an agreement early February of last year. If you want to add anything, go ahead.
So, Lorenzo's correct. The lawsuit was filed in February. Recall that the tax bills go out March 1. The lawsuit was filed in February when emails and other communications between the vendor that prints and mails the tax bills were not answered by the tax collector. Within 2 weeks of the lawsuit being filed, at the request of the lawyer for the tax collector, as Lorenzo says, we met in this room. And we developed 19 of those 20 points, which had both the tax collector's responsibilities and the township's responsibilities incorporated into a single document so that no one could accuse either the tax collector or the township of being unaware of what each had as his or its responsibility. It went nowhere despite efforts from February until November, until the morning of trial, when as the trial started, the attorney for the tax collector informed the court that the tax collector had no objection to the court issuing an order granting the township all of the relief and the requests that the township had made in the complaint. Essentially admitting to and asking the court to award the township all of what it asked in the complaint. My concern was that that was very one-sided. It did detail what we believed to be the responsibilities of the tax collector. It was at the township's request, at my request, as solicitor for the township, that the court consider not only what the township was asking, but what the tax collector had asked as the township's commitment to its responsibilities. Because the letter that the gentleman mentions accuses the township of not doing what the township is supposed to do. And I didn't want the township to be in that position. Both parties have responsibilities. And the court's order was at our request to include all of those responsibilities on the part of the township so that the tax collector knows what they are, the township knows what they are, and the residents know what they are. And the responsibilities are what is in the order, not what the tax collector may complain about next year, or even what the township may choose to complain about next year. The order sets forth the responsibilities of both parties. And again, it's supposed to be a cooperative effort. The township has made commitments and has responsibilities to aid the tax collector in doing the tax collector's job. And that's why the order reads the way the order reads. At our request, not at the tax collector's request.
Anyone else, please come forward, state your name for the meeting minutes. Good evening.
Hello. Ken McCray. Happened to be browsing on the township website a day or two ago and discovered that the township was advertising for a new full-time position, one that hasn't existed before, kind of a combination of other things. And I mean, since that's being advertised, that's a decision that's already been made. My question is, wouldn't, in the interest of transparency, that might be something you would mention at a public meeting to the people who are paying the salary of that person?
Absolutely. We met at 5 public budget meetings and it was mentioned 5 different times. That's
I'm
a public
talking
meeting.
about Yeah, public meeting, how many people on average are at those meetings? And you know that. At all meetings, all of them?
The fifth one.
The fifth one had 3 people. How many were at the others? How many public members attended the other budget meetings?
Not enough.
That's not an answer.
Well, it is an answer.
It is an answer.
No, Dan, I'm asking for a number. Is it 0?
Why weren't you there?
Because I had other things I had to be doing, which is why those meetings don't get attended. It's not a good time for them to take place. If you want people to come to them, you would schedule them in the meeting, in the evening.
We did. We did. The last one.
Okay, so, but why wouldn't you mention that at a supervisor's meeting when the public is here?
It's out there, the budget's out there for review, and obviously you saw it, so now you're asking a question. So I don't,
I'm inquiring about your strategy, whereas you're hiring somebody, you don't mention that at a typical regular supervisor's meeting. It's something that just should be happening. It always used to happen prior to this year. There was always discussion about hiring people. There was discussion, we want to do it. There was approval to do it, and then when it's advertised, you mention it was advertised, or even state that, you know, you vote to advertise it. All that stuff used to be done in public view until this year. And why is it necessary to hide that stuff from the public, which is what you're doing?
we're not hiding it because it's out there for the public to see it and hear it and ask questions.
But,
We're not hiding it. You may think that, but we're not hiding it.
well,
I object to whatever
well, you're wrong,
you're
because that's the
assuming.
technical effect of not mentioning it at a regular public meeting. That's the sort of thing that public meetings are supposed to involve, things that are of that nature, the major tax dollar expenditure, you should talk about it, where the people will see it, not hidden at a morning meeting that no one's gonna come to, and you know that. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Please come forward and state your name for the meeting minutes. Good evening.
Donnie Stover. Question I have, you guys mentioned the intersection of 270 and 897. We've been noticing recently on our fire apparatus, as we're going 897 south to 272, the opticom that's on that intersection is getting worse. We were going to Berks County the other week, and we were dead stopped at the intersection, and it never changed. I don't think it's picking us up coming up the hill with the bend there, the trees from Allenstown Eye Care stick out, so we're not getting the functionality out of that opticom as we're approaching from Smokestown Road up through. So I don't know if we can get High Associates out, or CM High out, to either adjust it, put it higher, maybe bring it over. I don't know if they can mount it like on a telephone pole where it catches us coming up the hill a little better or something, just to help out that intersection. But I was on the tanker, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, and we were at a dead stop at the intersection, and it never tripped. And we had them all synced in now to our emergency lights when we hit the switch. And that's the only issue, the intersection. The only way we have an issue, we can go 272 the rest of the way and we're fine. So just, I don't know if you make a note of that.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Before you go,
Uh-oh, not again.
did you get a tour of Pure Cycle this week?
I thought it was Tuesday, but it's this coming week.
Oh, okay.
So I thought it was this past Tuesday, but I looked at my schedule wrong, so it's
Okay.
gonna be this coming week, we're supposed to be out there.
You got invites the board didn't get, so you're special.
Well, they are special. Are you going to respond to a flyer? Jeff will show up.
I'm sure.
Jeff will show up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can get a helmet on Tuesday night, and you can ride a fire truck out.
You'd be Santa Claus, right?
That's right, you need Santa Claus in a couple weeks, Jeff, there we go.
He set himself up for that one.
Anyone else? Please come forward, state your name for the meeting minutes. All right, seeing none. Next meeting will be Thursday, December 19th at 7 p.m. here at the Township Building. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Have a great evening.